All right. I've got the head lady in charge. We finally got her. Christi, I got to tell you, I don't get to spend much time here with everything, and so I've been telling everybody it's been an amazing day for me to come in, spend time with the students, with the parents, and as a board member, you and I have been working on this for a long time.
Yes.
And it's just amazing for me to see what we've been working for come to fruition, and you are the driving force behind that. So first of all, thank you. It's just amazing to see the feedback from these kids. But I have some. I loved what I've heard, but I've got some really interesting questions that I want to ask you.
Okay.
Some that have come about, and I want to talk a little about the future. We've been talking to this point about the students and the parents about what's been happening. Let's talk about where it's going, because I know that's where your mind always is anyway. We can't
Absolutely.
stop you. So one thing that I heard a lot today, and I always, from day one, is there's a lot of work here at the Foundry, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
but high school should be challenging, shouldn't it?
It should be. Yeah. I'm not talking about my high school experience, but the kids, it's like every time that, I say, it's a lot of work, isn't it? And they're like, it is, but and I say, you see that in a normal student, a normal situation, it's more like roll your eyes at the ceiling, like, oh yeah, I just got to get through this work. But they seem to be really digging in and engaging in it. So it's great for me to see that, So can you just elaborate? I'm sure people love to hear about the approach on the rigor and the mindset you're trying to develop in these kids academically, and just in general.
Okay, I'd love to. When we created this whole model, our goal was to create a very rigorous model, but not just for the purpose of having rigor, which I think is where a lot of schools go wrong. We are applying that rigor into hands-on settings, into service projects, into creating lamps that they've actually designed and laser cut themselves, into so many different avenues that the kids are understanding why they're needing to learn this rigor. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, because we just finished Model United Nations, and that's a really tough program. And we went to Georgia State University. There were 900 kids there, and this is our first time we'd ever done anything like that. That these kids were brand spanking new. And they came back and they were so excited about the next one. And the students came up to me and said, Miss McCully, there were kids there that spoke 3 languages. Can we have 2 languages next year?
Wait a minute. They said that?
Absolutely. And they want to be able to, do those kind of things. It's kind of like we're opening up windows and doors for them to understand that the purpose of education is not just to get a grade, but it's for their future. And it's also to make the world a better place. We just finally finished a big service project that you may have heard about with Miss Peggy's house.
We talked about it in every conversation.
Yeah.
People loved that. It was a big hit, and I think all the students and the parents really got a lot out of it. So
absolutely.
So, yeah.
But, our whole process for everything that we do is that we work hard, we're being kind, and we're changing the world. And that sounds like it's just kind of lip service, but it's not. Mm-hmm. And what the kids saw by doing this is that they were changing the world for one person. When we finished this weekend, finished painting that huge fence that she had written a poem for the students. And it was absolutely... It made me cry.
I know, me too. I was like, man, this is great.
Yeah,
but put that on the website.
Absolutely, but it showed the kids that, what a big difference. It wasn't just going out there and doing a service project for hours or something like that. This was, they actually made the world a better place for her.
Yeah, I asked the kids. I was like, so what is it? What is it that? Why is it different when I ask you about all the work you have to do, and you don't just roll your eyes? Why is it? And they all said, well, they can see the result. They can see the means to the end, basically. So it was really fantastic,
Well, I'm glad.
to hear that.
It's interesting. We've always talked about the fact that we want to have critical thinkers. We want these kids to be able to think through things, and we want to teach them how to think, not what to think. And Harkness Table, in particular, has been something that has been a huge hit with the kids. So it's kind of like a student-led conversation. I might start it with a particular question, but the kids go forth and they bring in current events and other types of evidence and things that they've thought through, and it is amazing how well that goes. And the kids end up really where I would have wanted them to end up with a lecture, but this way they're doing it themselves and they're actually engaged and excited about it. So there's so many things like that we're doing at the Foundry that are unique and are giving these kids their own education. And I think that's making all the difference.
Well, let's talk about the future. We've done some amazing things. We are where we are, but we're looking forward. So you mentioned that this is, we have in all 4 years of our curriculum, we're going to have a theme. This year it's service, and Miss Peggy's project was one part of that. Can you talk about the rest of the year, what we're doing service-wise, and then let's look forward to next year. Talk a little bit about the sophomore year.
Sure, absolutely. This Friday we have our last test to take for our entire class to be certified for Adopt a Stream. So from that point on, we have teams of kids who have adopted a particular stream, and we will be going on a monthly basis for them to do chemical and biological testing. And that information, that data, is actually put up on the Georgia Environmental Protection Division website. So that's one thing that they're doing.
Cool.
They will also be, let's see, what else? We're doing some things for CERT. Which is for Homeland Security. They're actually doing things like learning how to take care of people in a disaster situation. This Friday, actually, we have our big simulation, which is this is the first time CERT has been offered in a high school, and so they're super excited about this, and it's going phenomenally. The kids have absolutely loved the class, learning how to treat wounds and carry people on body boards and do things like put out fires, things that kind of seem very elementary to you and I, but students just aren't taught those kind of things until they're adults, and yet they can actually make a difference.
Absolutely.
And I kind of feel like that's the whole point, is that at the Foundry we recognize that these kids are a huge untapped potential and they can make a difference in the world today, and we're giving them the opportunity to start believing that in themselves.
Yeah, I can see that, and the conversations with them, you can really hear that coming through. Is really great. So tell us about next year.
Okay, next year. Well, the way the Foundry works is that freshmen will always have this that service theme. They will always continue with that. But our sophomores moving forward, they will be working on entrepreneurship. That will be their theme. We're super excited about this. Where the kids are going to be learning Spanish, unless we decide to add a second language. If we have a few kids like the ones who came to me asking for a second one, but we're definitely offering Spanish. And so we're going to be Skyping with a class that's in a Spanish-speaking country, in addition to meeting up with our teacher that's a Spanish-speaking teacher. We're kind of excited about this because we actually have a exchange student that's coming from Chile who's going to be there for about 5 weeks. So we're hoping that kind of relationship will lead there. But we're also going to be creating an import-export business. This is with Achievers International, and the Small Business Administration is helping with this as well. And so the students are actually learning how to do a business analysis, make a business plan, do market surveys, and then potentially either make or find something that would sell in this other country, with the idea that the kids are going to actually make enough money that they can potentially visit that country. Yeah. So they have a lot of
motivation.
Yes, they are super excited about that. Our makerspace person is excited about the potential of the kids creating something within his realm, which is really cool because the kids are starting to think that way. It was so cool. They were talking about trying to raise money, for various necessary things that they'd like to do, and one of them just stopped and he said, "Wait, we have access to a makerspace and we're learning how to do all these things. Why don't we just make something to sell? And we were like, yes. And so they've actually come up with a design for a unique Christmas ornament. That's a Foundry Christmas ornament that they're going to be doing, which I think is amazing for ninth graders to be considering. So
I made one out of like flour and
well, this will be a little more than that one, okay?
I know CAD system.
I understand. So, but they're learning how to do things like CAD. They're learning how to do SolidWorks and combine that with all the technology that they have access to.
As Ed was in here earlier and we were talking, and he was like, I can't believe all the technology, the software they've got on their computers. I think it's like $20,000 worth of software.
It is. Absolutely.
Some cool stuff. So, cool. Still looking forward. I know we got the exhibition night coming up. I tried to pry some info out of the kids, but nothing happened. So, give us an insight. What's the idea behind exhibition night? Why do we have it?
Absolutely. Well, in school, what we do is we do projects or papers, and all we do is get a grade for it. And so what do you do after you get that grade? Your mom might put it on the refrigerator for a little while before it goes in the garbage. So what's the purpose? How does that really apply to my life? So exhibition night takes that to a different level. The projects that the students do will be on exhibit. So, for instance, I'm the history teacher, and so we're doing American history, and each one of the students had to go through American history and find a history hero. That's what we're calling them. So we had a professional photographer that came in to teach some photography skills, and then we've borrowed all of these amazing costumes from the Noonan Theater, and that lined up with what their person would have worn, and they created a photo shoot for a person in that outfit that is kind of like in the same setting and the same poses that their person is. They're trying to recreate this picture. And then in graphic design, what they've done is they are creating a graphic novel of that person's life. And all of that will be on display. In addition, like in Latin, they're programming a Latin dictionary using Python, which is the language the kids are using right now. So he has combined the ancient language of Latin with the modern language of Python, which is what the students are learning in computer science, and they're actually programming a dictionary so that you can put in any word and it'll show the Latin meanings of it. It's really a pretty cool process.
Very cool. So I could sit here and I know you get all kinds of plans.
The list
for
goes
future,
on.
But
Yeah.
I know you wanted to maybe talk a little bit about. I'm interested in the student council that was just.
Oh yeah.
And what the plans are going forward with
and so once again, this was a student-led decision to create a student council. We're trying really hard to help the kids develop leadership, to help them to really have the power to make decisions in their own education. And so we had an election. It was very interesting because we made it very clear this was not to be a popularity contest. This was an opportunity to look at someone who had a track record of actually doing things and getting things done. And I think the kids did a really good job with that. But the student council is meeting every week. They're very diligent, and they have all of these amazing ideas, and now they're just trying to go through the process of figuring out how to make them happen. So they've got this extravaganza that they want to do in the spring, and absolutely, and they have some really interesting and great ideas. I'm just super proud of the leadership that they're showing and that they're developing. So yeah, I just couldn't be more proud.
Yeah, well, I couldn't be either, and we'll wrap it up here, but let me just sum it up by saying everything I've heard today is just really in the direction that we really want to see the school go. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to come back in a couple months and see the other more amazing stuff that's happened. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much.